Hello, it's Auntie Teresa. I missed you. Or if you say it in Spanish, Tia Teresa. And I have a story for us today. It has been a long time. And somebody's daddy reminded me that you guys like to hear stories. So shout out to Jaden and Caden's daddy. You know who you are, cousin. Hey. Okay. Do you have your Jesus Storybook Bible with you? Okay. If you don't have it, go get it and then come back. Pause the video. And then come back. Okay. Ready? Last time, here, let's review. Last time we read a story, that was sad, a little bit sad. There was Abraham and his son Isaac, and God wanted Abraham to give him a gift, but he didn't want a regular gift. He wanted him to give him his son as a sacrifice, which means to kill him on the altar. But just before Abraham did it, God said, stop. He didn't want him to kill him. He wanted to see that Abraham loved him and trusted him and would do anything he told him to do. So, if you remember, they hugged. That's Abraham and his son Isaac. And then they sat under the stars and they talked about God's goodness. So if you missed that story, go back to the last video I sent you and listen to it. Remember, all of these are true stories. So today's story is called The Girl No One Wanted. And this is the story of Jacob, Rachel, and Leah in the Bible from Genesis chapters 29 through 30. Okay, so that's where the grown-ups can read it to you at home, or they can read it for themselves. But today we are going to read The Girl No One Wanted. There were once two sisters. The youngest sister was very beautiful, and her name was Rachel. But the oldest sister wasn't beautiful at all. Some thought her quite ugly, and her name was Leah. Rachel was the kind of girl who always gets invited to parties and chosen for the team. Everyone loved her, and poor Leah, no one hardly even noticed her. One day, their cousin Jacob came to stay. He was one of Isaac's sons, and he was on the run. Jacob had stolen and cheated and made some enemies, including his brother. And now he was hiding. The funny thing is, Jacob, of all people, was the one God gave the special promise to. I will rescue the world through your family. But then God chooses people we least expect, as we'll see. Jacob stayed a long time working for his uncle Laban. One day, Laban said, Jacob, I've decided to pay you for your work. What do you want? A sudden thought struck him. How about one of my daughters? Jacob looked at Rachel and he looked at Leah. Who would he choose? Of course, he chose Rachel. Here's the picture. See? Rachel, in Spanish, Raquel, and Leah. And there they are. You see Jacob? You point to him? Mm-hmm. And there's some sheep. Yep. Okay. Turn the page. My book is falling apart. I'll work 7 years for free, Jacob said, if I can marry Rachel. So Jacob worked 7 years, and at last his wedding day arrived. But that night, Laban played a nasty trick on Jacob. Instead of sending Rachel to marry Jacob, he sent Leah. Now, in those days, they didn't have electricity. So it was dark in their tent. And besides, women wore veils so you couldn't see their faces properly. So Jacob suspected nothing. The next morning, Jacob woke up and screamed, "Ah!" His new wife was lying beside him, but it wasn't Rachel. It was Leah. Jacob jumped out of bed. "Laban!" he cried. "You scoundrel!" But Laban said, "Work for me another 7 years, then you can marry Rachel." So Jacob worked for Laban another 7 years. And at last, Rachel became his wife. Now Jacob had 2 wives. But of his 2 wives, he loved Rachel the best. Not a good situation. You see that? They have veils covering their faces. Jacob screamed. He said, "Ah!" Turn the page. "No one loves me," Leah said. "I'm too ugly." But God didn't think she was ugly. And when he saw that Leah was not loved and that no one wanted her, God chose her to love her specially, to give her a very important job. One day, God was going to rescue the whole world through Leah's family. Now, when Leah knew that God loved her, in her heart, suddenly it didn't matter anymore whether her husband loved her best or if she was the prettiest. Someone had chosen her. Someone did love her with a never stopping, never giving up, unbreaking, always and forever love. So when Leah had a baby boy, she called him Judah, which means, "This time I will praise the Lord." And that's just what she did. And you'll never guess what job God gave Leah. You see, when God looked at Leah, he saw a princess. And sure enough, that's exactly what she became. One of Leah's children's children would be a prince. The Prince of Heaven, God's son. This prince would love God's people. They wouldn't need to be beautiful for him to love them. He would love them with all of his heart, and they would be beautiful because he loved them, like Leah. All right. You see her little baby Judah. What does Judah mean? This time I will praise the Lord. Did you like that story? All right. Hit a thumbs up on the video and send me your thoughts. You can send me a video, a text message. You can call me on the phone. Just don't put my phone number in the comments, please. But you can write anything else you want there. Okay? I love you guys. See you next time.